Hi guys, this is Vidas.
And Ausra.
Let's start episode 151 of Ask Vidas and Ausra podcast. And Daniel asks about figured bass. Do you know, Ausra, what's the definition of figured bass?
Well, I don't know exact definition, but I definitely know what it is. It's a common practice which was used in the Baroque period.
This is a system basically which was created to help musicians to perform on the spot harmonically and sometimes polyphonically complex pieces. Right? It's like an abbreviated system of writing.
Yes, it's the abbreviated system of writing. It saved actually time, it saved paper, because basically you have only bass line written out and you have numbers, underneath of that bass line. And depending on those numbers, you know what the harmony should be. And then you just have to add other voices to that bass line. And actually on that figured bass is all the, common harmony based on.
What happens if you don't have any numbers above the note?
Well, it just means that chord need to be a triad.
What do you mean a triad? What is this?
Well, if you don't have, let's say you are in the key of C major, you have a C note in the bass and you have no numbers. It means that you need to add E, G and C to that chord. So you have to have a triad or a fifth chord.
Like C major chord?
Yes, like C major chord. C major tonic chord.
Uh-huh.
And that usually what is when the note doesn't have any numbers.
Do these exercises or figured bass lines have multiple levels of numbers or just one?
Well, yes. We can have 1, 2, 3 numbers.
Sometimes 4?
Yes, sometimes 4.
Because in the right hand you can play 4 notes sometimes.
Yes. And it can also indicate such things as non-harmonical notes. For example, suspensions that were so common in Baroque music.
If you need some advanced knowledge on how, let's say, Johann Sebastian Bach treated figured bass, then we would definitely direct you to Dr. Pamela Reuter-Finster's website to find out more about her recent treatise on Bach and improvisation.
Yes. But maybe we could give like some examples of how to read, the figured bass. For example, what would you play if you would have like a number of 6 underneath of a note? What it would mean?
Major or minor first inversion chord, right?
Yes.
So if the 6 is above the note C, I would play C, E and A in the right hand, or just E and A in the right hand, or E, A, E in the right hand, or A, E, A. It depends on the texture you want to create, 3 or 4 part texture.
Sure, because while playing the figured bass you don't have only just to hit the right notes, you also need to do a right voice leading. So you have to know what to double, for example. So if you have, let's say, no numbers, as we talked about that C major chord, you would double, C note. If, for example, you have the 6th chord, the first inversion of, a 5th chord, then you would have to repeat either
a root
or a 5th.
Yes.
But not the bass. So, for example, if let's say the first inversion of tonic chord in C major is E, G, C, you would repeat either G or C but not E. Because if you would repeat E, then you would have hard time to connecting it rightly with the next chord.
But it's still possible, right? At school we don't allow it.
It's possible, but usually you need to avoid it.
What's the best way to avoid parallel fifths if you have, let's say, 3 notes in the right hand and 1 in the bass?
Well, the best way is, if your bass moves, let's say, down, that your other 3 notes would move up, so in an opposite direction.
Or if the bass moves upward,
the other 3 notes would move down.
And then you will not create any forbidden intervals.
Yes. So basically that, that number which is marked underneath of bass line shows you the note which has to be above the bass.
Or a few notes. Sometimes a 6th chord is notated in 3 numbers, right? Like above the note C, it could be 3 and 6.
Yes.
Or a couple of numbers.
Yes, and also sometimes you could get, accidentals also written either next to a number, concrete number, or in general. For example, if you are in the key, for example, of A minor, and you have a note E in the bass, and you have no numbers, but you have, for example, a sharp written in, it means that it will be a dominant chord with G sharp in A minor, and it would be like E, G sharp, B.
Or instead of a sharp, they would write a plus sign.
Yes, this is also a system used.
Mm-hmm. And the flat would be maybe sometimes in F major or D minor, right, when you have to lower some things.
Yes. And what about adding extra notes or creating something on your own? Could you do that while you're reading figured bass? Or
that's what Bach did,
Or you just have to play strictly chords?
People usually think that the right way to play figured bass, or basso continuo in Italian, is by providing chordal texture. 3 notes in the right hand, 1 in the left hand. But historically it's just a preliminary way to more advanced type of playing, right? Johann Mattheson wrote 2 treatises on figured bass. It's called Generalbassschule, because in German Generalbass figured bass. So he wrote 2 treatises, 2 parts. One was Kleine Generalbassschule, meaning a short one, right?
Yes.
And then a große Generalbassschule, like a magnum opus, like the great school of figured bass. It's an extension of the first preliminary method. So guys, when you are more advanced with this, so don't play just the chords. I think you need to think in terms of melody.
Yes, and don't you think that the tempo of the piece will dictate you how many additions can you play or add? That, for example, if the tempo is very fast, you might not be able, to add so many extra notes.
So maybe then you don't need those multiple notes per chord. Maybe you need just to have one upper voice in the right hand, but melodically interesting. Like in a jig, right? You could have triplets and dotted notes in the right hand, imitating maybe the left hand too, rhythms, and they would have this conversation.
Like dialogues.
Yeah, Dr. Pamela Reuter-Finster always says dialogues, duets, and there is a recent addition to that. She calls maybe contrasts or some other term, I forget. Dialogues, duets are the most important, right?
Yes.
Moving in parallel sixths and thirds, sweet intervals, you create duets, and dialogues you create by imitating the rhythmical and intervallic motion.
What about like modern editions? Would you prefer, to play from the modern edition where all that figure bass is written out for you, or you would like to create your own upper voices?
People who are risk takers, I think, should try at least to practice from original editions and supply the missing parts themselves, right? Um, uh, because in modern edition it's just one way that the modern editor suggested. But remember, every time you play, you could play something different because it's a part of improvised extemporaneous performance practice. And once you can do this, Osha, do you think that it will lead you to things like polyphonic playing, like even fugues, fuguettes?
I think so, because I believe that fuguettes and fugues are also, based on that figure bass.
Yeah, they call partimento fugues.
Yes.
It also has just one bass line, and sometimes the clefs change, but it basically also has figured bass symbols with some entrances of subject notated so that you know in which part and which octave you should enter the soprano, alto, or
Yes.
tenor.
And we are talking about Baroque fugue, we are not talking about Renaissance fugue, which was based on a little bit different technique, not a figured bass.
Like Richard Carr.
Yes, that's true.
Excellent. So go ahead and explore some interesting exercises in figured bass that we mentioned. There is a good treatise, Continuo, according to Handel.
Yes, that's a very good book.
Short and sweet and
Yes.
not too difficult.
It has exercises and then some music in it, like pieces that you could play based on the figure bass.
But if you are really serious and curious about it, Pamela's improvisation treatise will be extremely beneficial to you.
Yes, and of course, if you are even more interested, you could go to original sources like, Johann Mattheson is an excellent source to look at.
Excellent. Do you think that we need to provide a course like that for students of our own?
Well, I don't know how many would be interested. Maybe you could let us know.
Yeah, if there is such a need, what we did sometimes with a few pieces, like Johann Ludwig Krebs created this Klavierübung collection in 3 parts, and in the first part he has 13 chorale preludes, which have mostly 3 parts, and at the end of the setting of each chorale prelude there is a harmonization of the chorale and with
yes.
basso continuo or
Yes,
figure bass
but
notation.
it's even easier because, yes, it has bass line. Doesn't it have a soprano line or not?
It does have.
It does
soprano.
have. So yes, you have just to fill in 2 missing voices.
And we have notated Allein Gott in der Höhe sei and Jesu meine Freude, I think, fingering, and also missing those inner voices for figured bass realization.
Yes.
If you want to look at it.
And actually, in Krebs's case, you can already hear that his harmonizations are getting more sort of modern comparing to earlier composers. You can see that he is like a late Baroque, already beyond Baroque music.
The last master of the Baroque.
Yes.
Okay, thank you guys for sending us your questions and feedback. We love to know how it goes, how your practice goes, and looking forward to getting more of your questions and feedback. And remember, when you practice,
Miracles happen.